We'd like to welcome you back to part 4 of our current event and weekly Bible study for July 24th, 2016. I have a Bible verse to start out this part. Jeremiah 51:30. This is very, very much like the day and time we're living in, and this is also probably a Bible verse that would confirm that what we're talking about next is actually a sign of God's judgment on humanity, and particularly in America. I mean, I know this is going on other places as well, though, but I think America's really have the bullseye on it. It's probably getting more of this than probably any other place on earth. The mighty men of Babylon have forbone to fight. They have remained in their holds, meaning they won't fight anymore. Their might hath failed. They became as women. Now that doesn't sound like that's something God's like saying, this is a good thing. No, they're all of a sudden these mighty men of Babylon have become as women. Okay? And wasn't America always known? I mean, you look at, the First World War and the Second World War and all this, with America and how, we beat back the Germans and then the Japanese and the Italians and these types of things. And now look at what America has actually turned into to a large extent, and particularly the millennials, particularly the children and teenagers and young adult men that are coming up now. And we're going to go over this today, and we're going to look at this in depth. And this is entitled "The Chemical Gender Manipulation Turning Boys into Girls." Warning: this article is not politically correct. Over the past 10 years, I have received, I think this is Ted Broer. Over the past 10 years, I've received a massive increase in phone calls and letters from people who either have family members or themselves who have been suffering from estrogen dominance. What this does in men is cause lower testosterone, enlarged breasts, increased body fat, depression, loss of libido, sex drive, and andropause, which is like menopause for men. Okay, andropause, though, they're not producing the testosterone and the growth hormone, and they have an estrogen dominance, and it's causing a similar effect in men as menopause would be in women. All symptoms were basically unheard of 50 years ago. In the case of estrogen dominance in women, it is usually combined with an increased rate of fibroid tumors, irregular periods, and breast or ovarian cancer. Parents are calling in, complaining, or asking for help with young boys and male teenagers who are dealing with estrogen dominant symptoms. Their symptoms are slowed maturation, confused gender identity, much smaller reproductive organs, and an issue of increased transgender identification. Now, I realize with the whole homosexual thing, gay thing, that yes, there is a demonic component there. But what we're going to be talking about today is a little bit different, because this is something that is literally being done to both, well, really in this case, we're talking a lot about boys here, how this is affecting boys in the womb. This is literally being done to them when they're literally being formed in the womb, so they don't have any control over it. And that's why this is so sad. I'm not saying this isn't affecting little girls, okay, either. Okay, but for the purpose of this article, it's kind of keen on what it's doing and how it's affecting the boys, the children that are being brought up here. Young girls with estrogen dominance usually start their period very young. Some have been known to start as early as 3 years of age. A little girl starting her period at 3? What? This starting of the period at an early age is usually accompanied by weight gain, sometimes to the extreme. And, I mean, we got to be the most overweight country there is on the planet overall. I mean, I know enough, people that have either traveled abroad or people that come over here, and the comments they make about the unbelievable amount of overweight people. That is by design, and there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, yeah, some of it's just flat out gluttony. Some of it's that, but there's a lot of factors that go into that, okay? And that's all being done by design, too. the big question is, why is this happening? Several years ago, I wrote an article that centered primarily on andropause and reduced sperm count, which caused infertility. Today, I'm endorsing what I believe are the root causes of these issues and what we can do about them. The root cause of this is so awful that it grieves me to even write this. What I'm getting into right now is unbelievably horrific. These devils are so sick. They're so going to burn white hot in hell. The devils that are behind this. The problem is, this is fact, it's not theory. This makes it all the more difficult to write about since it is affecting so many individual lives and the lives of families. It's literally destroying the internal fabric of this country. This is just one of the aspects that's doing that. It's not the only one, but it's one of them. In his book, Brave New World, Aldous Huxley discusses the estrogen dominance problems which are caused by the elite globalists as a form of population control, meaning they're causing estrogen dominance. And particularly, they want to see how it affects the male population because they know a strong male-dominant population is not going to be so easily dominated by the New World Order. But if they can create a literal army of feminized men out there, well, what are they going to do to resist the New World Order? Probably not a whole lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just don't think they're going to be the ones really going to bat fighting the New World Order. Okay? For the most part. Okay, maybe there's exceptions, but for the most part, are they really going to be? Come on. The elite globalists as a form of population control, which is literally chemical warfare. Years ago, and to this day, the Rockefeller Foundation was heavily involved in the promotion of eugenics. Just want to make sure my battery's still good. The promotion of eugenics. This is the science of planned depopulation control. This included forced birth control and sterilization to reduce the world's population. There are two ways that eugenics can be achieved. Number one, increase the death rate, which is being done. We've already discussed that. I just told you about like my grandparents to my parents to, my generation, and then you start to look at the millennials and those coming up. I doubt these people are going to be living to be into their late 20s, into their early 30s. We'll see. But anyway, that's the first thing is increase the death rate. Reduce the rate of age that people are living, really. And then two, decrease the birth rate. They're doing that, beyond belief. Back in the 1940s, the Rockefeller companies introduced plastics into the ecosystem. They knew when they did this so that many of the plastics were xenoestrogens, which if consumed by humans would feminize males. Xenoestrogens are a bad type of like synthetic estrogen that they put in like everything. It's in the chemicals you put on your body, it's in the soaps, it's in the deodorants, it's in the, you name it. Anything you spray on your body, put on your body, shampoos, everything. They're loading this stuff with xenoestrogens, which is massively messing up both the male and the female glandular system or its endocrine system, unbelievably. And xenoestrogens are highly cancer causing. Okay, and plastics are one of the main ways they've done this. BPA in the plastics as well, plastic water bottles, we already discussed that. Always remember that gasoline is a byproduct of the petrochemical industry. Oil companies earn thousands of dollars per barrel by making xenoestrogens in the form of cosmetics, perfumes, drugs, plastics, fertilizers, weed killers, detergents, and the list just goes on and on. I include in the xenoestrogen category most plastics, especially those that contain BPA, which we've discussed, Roundup, which is from Monsanto, which is their main weed killer, atrazine, also hand sanitizers, which are death. Those hand sanitizers, that's no good. Okay, make your own hand sanitizers. You can make it own with the essential oils, like the Thieves blend. You can make that. I've done whole studies where I've shown you how to make it. Just key in Thieves or I don't know. That'll probably find it. You'll probably find the Thieves oil blend that you can make by yourself. I've got a whole thing here to make tons of it, and for a fraction of the cost, as opposed to going to Young Living and buying their rip-off multi-level version of it or whatever. Anyway, which is also owned by a Mormon Young Living he was a descendant of Brigham Young. That's not a lie, it's a truth. Anyway, hand sanitizers, makeup, and petrochemical soaps like Dawn. Okay, these types of soaps like Dawn and in the dishwashing, they're loaded with it. Okay, the short list is only a few of the actual lists, which is in the hundreds, if not the thousands. The following is a quick, simple lesson on brain chemistry, a little known fact I learned in neurochemistry. Now this is unbelievable what I'm going to be getting into right now, and this is so evil, yet it's so pre-planned and predetermined, and it explains so much to me why I'm seeing this legion of feminized, metrosexual gay men now that seem to be coming out of the woodworks, exploding their populations. There's a physiological reason why this is happening. The following is a quick, simple lesson on brain chemistry. A little known fact I learned in neurochemistry while at the school of Florida State University is that in mammals, including humans, all offspring initially have a female brain, including boys. Females have two of the same kinds of sex chromosomes, X and X, okay, and are called, it doesn't mean that a boy, okay, let me say this first, and are called the homogametic sex. Males have two distinct sex chromosomes, X and Y, and are called heterogametic sex. Now that doesn't mean, when it says a boy has a female brain, it doesn't mean that he's a female. It just means that he has a female type brain, even though he has an X and Y chromosome, meaning he's a boy still. But there's certain things that have to happen for that female brain to turn into a male type brain. Okay, and we're going to discuss that here. During the uterocycle, the Y chromosome, remember, a boy has the X and the Y chromosome, and that is determined basically at conception in the womb, okay? That's why these transgenders or these people that want to get sex changed, like, I want to be a girl. It doesn't matter what you say. You will never be a girl. You will always have an X and Y chromosome. I don't care how much you get cut off. I don't care how much you get whatever. How many implants you get, whatever you do, how many hormones you take, you are never not going to have an X and Y chromosome. You are always going to be biologically male. Just like a female will always have two X chromosomes, and there's nothing she can do to change that. She'll always be biologically female. There's nothing you can do. I don't care how many surgeries you get. You will never change that. That's why it's so insane. During the uterocycle, meaning when the baby is in the uterus, in the womb, the Y chromosome, remember boys, an X and a Y, the Y chromosome signals the mother to release testosterone. This increase in testosterone causes the baby's ovaries to become testicles, essentially. It's a simple oversimplification, I think. And changes the female brain of the male infant to the brain of a male. Okay? And I think he's making this a little oversimplified, but hopefully you get the gist of it. Okay? The testosterone is what, even though it is a male baby, it's what causes these changes to actually initiate in utero, is the point he's trying to make. I wish he could have stated it a little bit better, but, or at least that's what is supposed to happen. Remember, it takes a required amount of testosterone from the mother to do this change. Remember, even women have testosterone. Okay, testosterone and estrogen are antagonists, and one can dominate the other. Now, as a sidebar, as a side note, one of the main things you will always see, and I'm serious, I've seen this over and over again. Do you know what the main attribute of elite athletes are? One of the things that almost all of them have in common, especially males. When you look at the hand, if you put your hand in front of you or you put it down on you, your ring finger will tend to be longer than your index finger. What does that mean? That means that in utero, you got an extra large dose of testosterone from your mother. And when your ring finger is longer than your index finger, that is the greatest indicator that you're going to typically have more of an athletic predisposition. And it literally boiled down to the testosterone that you received, that your mothers produced when you were in the womb. Just a little, that's a little sidebar. It doesn't really have, anyway, it kind of relates to what we're talking about. Okay, so, testosterone and estrogen are antagonists, meaning they oppose one another. They have opposite roles and functions, and they can compete, and one can dominate the other. Okay, so if too much estrogen is present in utero with the baby in the womb, then the testosterone cannot do its job properly. If a pregnant female is exposed to this onslaught of estrogen mimickers, which she's probably been exposed to that her whole life, then in many cases sufficient testosterone cannot be released to make the male fetus, or the male, I call it a baby, a fully developed male. When this happens, the brain will remain female-like. It's not going to be a female brain. It's still an X and Y chromosome, but it's going to be very, very feminized. Why? Because testosterone is the male hormone. It makes sense. If you have an estrogen dominant system going on there when you're trying to make a male baby, obviously it's going to have a feminizing effect on the baby. It just makes sense. It will not become a fully male brain, in other words. And in many cases, reproductive organs in the males are extremely small. The result will be a feminized boy with a female brain and small genitalia. Now, I'm telling you, there's just so many feminized guys right now. And the incredibly sad thing is it's not like they had any choice. It's not like it's their fault. You know what I mean? That's why it's so, to me, this is so sad, because they never had any choice. A lot of them are a lot of them, from what I've heard, want to like girls, but they can't. They don't have, physiologically, they have a feminized brain. They've been estrogen dominant from the womb. They've been bombarded with estrogen mimickers, these xenoestrogens, not only from the womb, but from birth on. We've all been bombarded with these xenoestrogens. I mean, even on the receipts you get from like Walgreens and in a lot of these fast food places, it's all over. The BPA in the water bottles. The soy formulas is a feminizing, like a xenoestrogen that they bring a lot of babies up on. They never had a chance. It's horrible. Man, Satan's good at what he does. He's just coming at us from so many different angles. Oh, this is just horrible. So the result will be a feminized boy with a female brain characteristics and small genitalia. Basically a woman in sort of a male body, a metro male. What a mess all this becomes when men play God with nature. These half men and half women act and think like women, and in many cases, but not all, they are attracted to men. And some want to wear makeup, dresses, and women's jeans. This is not a joke or a subject of ridicule. I'm not saying this in any kind of... To me, this isn't like Sodom and Gomorrah, where these cats were all there, willingly doing this stuff, demon-possessed to the toenails, men burning after men, you know, to the point where they were trying so bad to even get to the grope to the door after the angels had blinded them so that they could, you know, have their way with them. This isn't what I'm talking about here. These boys, this whole generation of boys growing up now in America, they never had a choice in this. Now, are you still responsible for your actions? Yes. Just to me, this is so gut-wrenching to come to this full realization as to why I've been seeing this so much. It's horrible. And it's what's been done to them, and they never had any choice about it. Now, God could heal them. I think if people were praying for them and if they got on the proper detox programs and they realized what was going on, I do believe God can heal them. The Bible says, call upon me and I will answer thee and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? No, there's not. But I don't think anybody's praying about this. Why? Because the body of Christ doesn't even know about it. Of course, I'm sure a lot of the women are aware of the fact that they're seeing this. What's going on with the men? Why are they so feminized? Why? And there's so many ways men are being feminized. And the whole back half of this newsletter is completely devoted to that. Literally from like pages 18 all the way down to page 31 of this PDF, it's totally devoted to all the ways men are being feminized and what you can do about it. It's literally the biggest, and I'm not going to cover it all because I don't have time today to cover it all. Some of this I have already covered, some of this stuff. But I'm giving you every single thing I've got about the feminization of men and what to do about it. Now, not to say this isn't happening to men of my age, but the thing is I've got beyond that. I didn't have to worry about all being bombarded with all the level of xenoestrogens. I was born in 1969, okay, when a lot of this hadn't kicked in. Okay, so I actually got through puberty and through all this other stuff without having to deal with a whole lot of this. Whereas the kids growing up today, they never had that chance. Oh, this is so horrible. So, this is not a joke or a subject for ridicule. These men were literally chemically castrated in the uterus. And this is all by design. And talk about the destruction of the family. You know what I mean? Talk about, I mean, how are we even going to make it past this generation? How could this generation coming up even form a viable generation that could continue on? I mean, you damage one generation enough, it's going to just totally mess everything up. We're already below that birth rate thing line now where a society can sustain itself. I think it has to be like 2.1 children per couple to maintain any kind of viable society. We're already like 1.8 or something in America. A lot of people don't want to bring kids into the world just because they know they sense something so horrific is coming. And it's horrible. Huxley referred to this as the chemical warfare plan. They planned all this out. This whole estrogen dominance thing is a huge part of implementing the New World Order. And Aldous Huxley wrote about it. And he referred to this as the chemical warfare plan. I must admit it has worked out very well for them. Again, what I'm discussing here is not conspiracy, but it is a biological and chemical fact. The goal of the globalists, by their own statements, is to reduce the world's population. They will do this by the following. Number one, sterility. 2, separation of the males and females. Well, you're going to have a lot of that when you have a whole bunch of group of feminized men coming up who have no attraction to women, and don't really know why they don't have attraction. The breaking up of the traditional American family. I mean, I hear about stuff like boys do now. And I'm like, man, when I went to high school, I can remember like 3 guys out of like 135 in my class that we kind of thought we knew were gay openly. Now what is it? I mean, who knows how many? How many, Taylor, how many you think, like in an average class of just like average high school? How many, what's the percentage of guys you think might be feminized? I mean, you don't have any idea? She just said a lot. It's and it's only getting bigger. In other words, this problem is getting worse. Every day, it's getting a little bit worse. So they're doing this, again, by the following. Number 3, breaking up the traditional American family, which, you know, separation of males and females, that's going to cause the breaking up of the traditional American family. Gender manipulation and confusion of sex identity. Higher and higher divorce rates. Oh, this is so upsetting. Several years ago, as part of a continual obfuscation campaign, the American Chemical Association banned the use of BPA in baby bottles. This was a joke, though, as it was never readily used in baby bottles, but they failed to ban the use of BPA as a liner in cans and in water bottles. Now, I've spoken a lot about BPA. I give you a link here to my studies where I've talked about it, just as a side note. I will also mention that plastic wraps used in microwave food contains phthalates, another potent estrogen compound. So the plastic wraps you put on stuff, and I know that's very hard to avoid, the plastic, but especially if you heat it. When you apply the heat to the plastic is when you're really imparting all of the bad xenoestrogens into the food. One of the worst things you can do is, number one, microwave your food, which just nukes it, literally. Just destroys it. It's so horrific what it does to the food. I've got into that. Can't microwave. contendingfortruth.com. You'll hear that. And then if you microwave it in plastic, and let's say you microwave a processed food in plastic. And I remember even the private schools I had tailoring, that was the standard thing everybody did. They had their microwave foods. All the kids would microwave their processed garbage food in plastic every day. I mean, you talk about a recipe for health disaster. Do that every meal, or most of the meals. And the plastic literally melts into the microwave food, loading it with estrogen. Taking all of this in a bit further, we are mammals and we release pheromones. These pheromones are used to attract men to women. The pheromones are picked up through the olfactory glands, which is your smell, sense of smell. There is a reason that cowboy westerns were so big 50 years ago. In those days, most women wanted tough, rugged men. Most of the men wanted to be tough, rugged guys. However, when women are on birth control pills, their body is chemically placed into a pregnancy mode. At this point, they want nurturing, a fatherly type for a mate. This is just basic hormone chemistry. Many women who are on birth control end up marrying metrosexual males, which then produce more metrosexual males if they even have kids at all. Try that one on for size. I didn't even really fully grasp that until I read this. So the birth control pills that most women are on, which are just totally set you up for ovarian and uterine cancer and all types of things, horrific for you, that causes this to happen. Talk about breaking up the family unit. Please remember, I am not singling anyone out in this article, but I am giving you the facts in reproductive biochemistry. Birth control pills were originally released to the public through the eugenics program, meaning the depopulation program. This cycle has gone on now for over 60 years. No one should be chemically sterilized against their own will or without their knowledge. Our glandular system or endocrine system consists of several glands. They include the thyroid, pituitary, hypothalamus, adrenals, testicles for men, ovaries for women, and the pineal gland. Now I'm going to discuss a few endocrine disruptors and their effects. Fluoride, bromide, iodine, and chlorine are all halogens. We've talked about them earlier. Fluoride is in our toothpaste. Bromide is in our baked goods. Well, fluoride is also in the water supply. Bromide is in our baked goods. Now, they used to put iodine in the baked goods. They took it out, put bromide in because bromide will kill you. Bromide's a bad halogen, which kicks iodine out of the thyroid. Chlorine is in our water, also kill you, and iodine is used by the thyroid, and they've done their best to take it out of the food supply. When these other halogens are consumed, the bad ones I mentioned, the thyroid thinks that they are iodine and absorbs them. In other words, there are receptors in the thyroid gland and in other places where iodine is taken in, and if you're putting these bad halogens in the body, they will immediately be attracted to the thyroid. Okay? Iodine is really one of the only remedies because iodine will actually go in there, compete with them, and kick them out if you're giving yourself enough quantities of it, and if you're not taking in the bad halogens, because it would be kind of pointless to do both, to take in the bad halogens and do the iodine. It may be better than nothing, but you wouldn't want to do that. It'd be, you'd be undoing all the good you're doing. Okay, so in the past, I've written exhaustively about this topic. I've done several studies on this. Heavy metals, including barium, aluminum, and lead, are also endocrine disruptors. We've talked about aluminum today. We've talked about lead today. Barium in the chemtrails, aluminum in the chemtrails. This is another reason they're putting that in there. As I've discussed in earlier emails, I've discovered both barium and aluminum are in the air we breathe via testing of my rainwater, via the chemtrails. That's why it's in there. It's also in the soil. We breathe it in. If it's in the air, we basically aspirate these heavy metals into our lungs. The lungs are a very potent delivery system. That is why inhalers work so well. That's why they're chemtrailing us, because they know the lungs are a potent delivery system. These sick devils. That's why when I see those chemtrail planes flying up there, I get so righteously indignant and pray so vehemently against them. Because I know what they're trying to do. Even the municipally treated water and the well water are full of estrogen and pesticides because of the medications and all the stuff that gets back into the sewer system and then gets recycled into the city water. That stuff that's not being filtered out. The pesticides and the estrogens and the medications and all the xenoestrogens. The onslaught just never, this is why it's so important to filter your water. The onslaught just never seems to end. This is why I so strongly suggest and personally use an estrogen blocker and purifying your drinking water, which, again, I've talked about purifying the drinking water, and then a shower filter. And I give you a link to his shower filter here to clean the chemicals out of the shower water. It's very, very important to have a shower filter. Because if you're not, you're gassing yourself every time you take a shower. Unless you're using, like, well water that's, like, a good well water, you know. Now, the estrogen blocker that I have, the natural estrogen blocker, this isn't a chemical, is called Estro Benefits, and it's actually a new product that they released. I brought in, and it's got the reviews. It's got 5 out of 5 rating. And what does it have in it? What are the primary ingredients? The dietary supplement to support hormonal balance in men and women. This helps men and women. Okay, this will help. Remember, we're being bombarded with xenoestrogens. This is a supplement that will literally start blocking that bad xenoestrogen. Okay, it's not really a detox. Well, yeah, it actually is a detox to a certain extent. And it also has a way of blocking these bad estrogens. It is a blend of what they call DIM, which is a patent-enhanced bioavailability complex of starch, diindomethylene, vitamin D alpha tocopherol, phosphatidylcholine, and silica. It's evidently something they have found which is extremely effective against these xenoestrogens. It's a natural product, okay? Combined with a D3, a vitamin E, calcium deglucarate, indo-3-carbinol, green tea extract, and what they call HMR ligand, which is a Norway spruce pica albis. It's one of the things I researched this, and it's one of the things I like this product because it has everything I've seen as far as estrogen, natural estrogen blocker in one capsule. It also has transreverostol, which is a really, really potent antioxidant that evidently has also a really potent anti-bad estrogen effect on you. Estrogen Benefits is a state-of-the-art formula that supports hormone balance and cellular health in both men and women. And they suggest you take 2 per day. So, it's a professional line that I carry. I do have it. If you're interested, just email me. Going further, it says years ago, one study from the University of Pittsburgh showed one hot 15-minute shower was the equivalent of drinking 8 glasses of contaminated water. Okay, you're getting the fluoride and you're getting the chlorine gas without a shower filter. Remember, the lungs absorb the contaminated steam from the water. Another culprit is high fructose corn syrup. Atrazine, the weed killer, is liberally used on corn. This potent estrogen compound then contaminates the corn and the high fructose corn syrup. The runoff of this product combined with the Roundup pesticide are the 2 most polluting herbicides on the planet, and they're highly xenoestrogenic in their effects. I mean, this is all, they're just trying to hyper estrogenize our systems beyond belief to annihilate both male and female endocrine systems. All of these estrogens are causing an ever-increasing andropause in men, meaning they're going through like a male menopause, which should not be happening. This is when men go into male menopause from lack of testosterone. Because if you're totally estrogen dominant, it's just gonna annihilate any testosterone effect you have in your body. Andropause was non-existent 50 years ago. This can easily cause depression in men, can decrease their libido. This lack of motivation can become systemic throughout their lives. Many men resort to testosterone replacement therapy. That's like the norm now. You see all the Viagra and all these commercials for all this stuff, and it's like, whoa, what is going on? It's all a byproduct of that. It's all being done by design. Because they've created this situation, and now here's the solution. Here's the drug. That's the solution. He says, my testosterone is normal. When I was 40, it was still that of an 18-year-old. I do not willingly expose myself to estrogens, and I take an estrogen blocker supplement every day. Remember, estrogen and testosterone are antagonists, meaning they oppose one another. When these men are sufficiently depressed, then they're given Prozac, fluoride being the chief ingredient, fluoride and Prozac, and Viagra then. What a combination. No one bothers to tell them that the Viagra can make you go deaf and blind. Men resorting to taking all this and potentially becoming blind, deaf, impotent, and depressed. And going on a 3-state killing spree because of the Prozac. Another note about Viagra, it contains phtalates, which gives you more estrogen. The Rockefeller petrochemical industry is literally waging a chemical castration war on men in our nation. Now, not to say this isn't affecting women in an equally horrific way, okay? Not to mention the massive increase of breast, ovarian, and infertility problems in women. Even the use of bleached tampons are affecting women as they contain xenoestrogens and can change a female's hormonal profile. So just bleached tampons in women can cause horrific effects. You need to go up and get organic female care products. Okay? You can go up on eBay and find them. Mercola has a line of them. Okay? I'm just telling you. I ain't going to say a whole lot more about that. But you need to do that, women. Please. And use a natural, like, type, deodorant. And don't use these anything that is mass-produced, store-bought, that you're going to get from a grocery store or something. I'm telling you, it is death. Anything with meth or prop on the label, and I don't mean the ingredient meth, I'm talking about methyl, whatever, propylene, whatever. Anytime you see the word meth or prop, typically it'll occur at the start of the word, in an ingredient list, it is death. It is cancer-causing. It is xenoestrogenic. That's all you need to know. You get these labels and it's got 3,000 degrees. Don't even look at it. I'm telling you. And yes, there's probably ways that you can even make this stuff on your own. Some of it you probably can do, and you can make it naturally. You want the least amount of ingredients as possible, and you want the most natural ingredient list you can get. I like one of the good brands out there, I think, which simplifies a lot of this, is the Cal-Ben Pure Soap Company. They make a good just basic soap. They make a good basic shampoo. They make a good basic dish soap that we use here. And I buy that stuff by the gallon. It's more economical that way. It lasts a long time. I use those foamer bottles that you can buy, and you can make, one of those foamer bottles, you only have to use about, 3/4 of an inch of soap at the bottom, and then you fill the rest up with purified water. And you got enough hand soap there to, that's a great way to go. But this takes effort. It's not something that's just going to fall out of the sky. If you entrust your health to just the mainstream, whatever you buy at whatever store you go to, you are killing yourself every single day. You're just one more step in killing yourself. Or creating a debilitating sickness, giving yourself cancer. I'm just telling you, that's what's going on here. I wish it wasn't that way, but they're trying to kill us so many different ways. So, let me just read that last part again. Even the use of bleached tampons are affecting women as they contain xenoestrogens and can cause a change to a female's hormonal profile. And let us not forget about GMO foods, which cause sterility by the 4th generation. They tested it on rats, and all the rats were totally sterilized by the fourth generation. And that was just GMO foods by itself with nothing else going on. So you can imagine, like I said, we're probably like, you know, one generation or whatever away of being just about totally sterile. The way it's going. So what are some of the solutions to this? Now here's some proactive things. Purify your water, get the fluoride out. Now some of this is redundant, but I'm going to state it again because these are things that all relate together. Do not microwave with plastics, and better yet, do not use a microwave. Do not use petroleum soaps like Dawn. Okay, they've got good soaps at health food stores. Read the labels, or the Calben Pure soap. You know, and I even called the company on some of their products, and I verified that they're using really good ingredients in their stuff. Never use soy or soy formula. It's highly estrogenic and it is horrific. You should never even put soy in the body. It's so bad. Now, nattokinase that I mentioned earlier is an enzyme derived from soy, but you're only getting that enzymatic portion. You're not getting soy. It's not like having like a soy burger when you take a nattokinase. Just the enzymatic component. So there's no problem there. Take an estrogen blocker. This is critical. I do so every day. And again, I give you the link to the one that I carry, so you can read more about it. I gave you the full insert in this report, in this PDF. Do not drink out of plastics. You know, obviously don't use plastic water bottles. There's ones that you can get. You can get stainless steel. You can get glass ones that are wrapped in these like they're like little rubber wraps that protect the glass. Whatever you want to do, just I wouldn't, you know, bring your own water with you. You know, don't like wherever you're going, bring your own food, bring your own water, and this type of thing whenever you can. And it goes point number 7, do not use Viagra. Okay, now for women, this is my protocol. Symplex F for women, which is a female endocrine overall product. It supports thyroid, adrenal, ovaries, and pituitary. Symplex M for men, M standing for male, which supports testicles, adrenals, pituitary, thyroid. It's just a good general overall endocrine product. Okay. Cataplex E, which is your vitamin E component. Now, if you were doing the ester benefits, it has some E in there. Tribulus is a really good herb for men. Now, probably what I would recommend to start with, though, is like something like a good E, a good whole food E, like Cataplex E, Symplex M for men, and then also he mentioned zinc. I have zinc liver chelate. And these are all things that help increase testosterone naturally. Tribulus is a very potent product. It's an herbal, but I would make sure that you have your food-based nutrients as a base. In other words, be on a really good whole food multivitamin before I would actually just do just pure Tribulus. Okay, because you want your foundation good, okay, before you're just going to get into the herbal stuff. Herbs tend to mobilize vitamins and minerals that are already in the system, but if the vitamins and minerals aren't there to begin with, the herbs can't work very well. That's why I generally don't start with herbs. I generally tend to start with whole food products, and then later, if we want to actually go the extra step, or you can do it in conjunction, do the herbs with it. So there's something to work upon. So I have a very, very potent Bulgarian Tribulus. It's expensive. I don't have anything to do with the pricing. Medior produces it. It's literally from Bulgaria, and the stuff is very, very potent. I don't take it. I've just experimented with it a little bit, and it to be honest with you, it makes me too aggressive. I don't need to be taking it. I need to act like a Christian. I don't want to act like a whatever, and that stuff. I think my testosterone's fine, and because of all the stuff that I do, and Tribulus is not something I really. But a lot of people take it for bodybuilding. A lot of people take it for increasing strength, increasing muscle mass, and stuff like that. So it can be very, very good for that. But it's not for everybody, because for certain personality types, I think it might, especially real Tribulus. Most of the Tribulus 99% of what you're going to get in the store is Indian Tribulus. It's not real Tribulus. It's garbage. It has a totally different phytochemical program than Bulgarian Tribulus. Bulgarian Tribulus is the real Tribulus that the Bulgarian weightlifters were using, I think, in the early 80s, and they were setting all kind of world records using that, probably in conjunction with other stuff. But anyway, just a little primer there. Now, I also, at the end of this report, I give you my full newsletter on this subject. I'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so those are some professional lines I carry. Then 8, do not get immunizations. These are things, obviously things. Do not use birth control pills. That was 9. Do not use bleached tampons. That was 10. 11, do not use bakery products containing bromide. Okay, and a lot of times you'll read, it's best, you really need to be eating organic bakery products, okay? Especially wheat. If you're not eating organic wheat or bakery products, you are getting GMO wheat or other grains, and not only are they GMO, but they're laden with things like the Roundup and the stuff like that. They'll spray Roundup on the wheat to bring it to market quicker so they get a better price. Okay, you're getting Franken wheat with Roundup on it. You need to be eating organic, and then again, there's all kind of xenoestrogenic effects from that. So you need to be eating as much organic, period, as you can. I even rinse my vegetables and fruits with like that Cal Ben soap, that foamy soap, prior to eating them because of the chemtrails. I don't just pop it out of the box and start eating it. Okay, I even rinse organic stuff. So, I wish this wasn't so much work. I wish it wasn't so complicated. But unfortunately, I'm trying to help, but I realize that this is a lot, what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is truth, and I know I'm not giving you bad advice. And then number 12, take an iodine supplement daily. This helps to maintain proper thyroid function. Now, I've talked about this a lot lately, and I haven't even done it from this angle. But this has a lot to do with obviously your thyroid function, with kicking the bad halogens out of the body. Right now, I've got the iodine products I've got, and I list them here with links on them you can click on. You can't order them from the links, but you can research them because they're professional lines. You have to get these through some type of healthcare professional. Prolamine iodine by standard process, 3 milligrams, which used to be fine. That used to be, I think, okay a long time ago. But then I think they've done all these things to attack the thyroid. Other companies have had to come out with other products that are more potent. And iodoral is probably the highest potency iodine supplements that I know of. And I have the iodoral high potency 12.5, which would be like one tablet would be the equivalent of like 4 prolamine iodine. I have that in a 180 and a 90 count, and then I also have the iodoral 50 milligram, which is like equivalent to a lot of the other. You're looking at like 18 prolamine iodine tablets per 50 milligram iodoral tablet. So that's one of those ones where I say, okay, start, don't do any more than one a day. See how you feel, because you can get too much iodine in the body. But the weird thing is I've taken these. I've taken up to 2 a day. I've never even reached saturation level. I just think they're doing a lot of stuff in the environment now, probably with electromagnetic pollution, a lot of different things where they're just doing everything they can do to kick iodine out of our body. Because it seems to be such a plot by the New World Order with the introduction of fluoride into the systems, chlorine, and bromine to kick iodine out of our body. It's been such a priority for them, and this started decades ago, that whatever they're doing is doing a really good job of kicking it out of our body. So this is why supplementation is so important. Point number, and here I give you my email address if you want to contact me about it. Point 13, avoid prescription drugs as much as possible, especially statin drugs. They all cause cancer and they can destroy brain function. Avoid herbicides and pesticides as much as you can. Avoid meat and dairy with hormones, especially butter and eggs. And basically what this boils down to is try and eat as much organic as you can. Do not drink fluoride or chlorine in your water or toothpaste. use the natural toothpaste. There's a link here to the one he sells. Do not use cans with a BPA liner. Now, a lot of the cans that are coming out now, like there's certain lines that are coming out where it'll say BPA-free liner. Those are the cans you want to buy. Even if it says organic, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's BPA-free. And most likely it will not be, unless it states it. So you want to get, if you buy it in a can, if you can, organic, BPA-free liner. 18, last but not least, detoxify your body to get all these horrific chemicals mentioned out of your system. He didn't include that in there, and I put this in there, the last point. So what I've done is I've streamlined my cleanse now, and I've basically reduced it to a 1-month cleanse. It's an intensive 1-month cleanse. For most people, 1 month is doable. You tell somebody to do something for 2 months, it's like, I don't know if I want to do that. But 1 month, most people can live with that. So what I prescribe is Livoplex, which is a multiple products for detoxification of liver and bowel in one product. Very potent, 6 a day for a month. You go through 2 bottles. Choline, which is defats the liver, breaks down gallstones, detoxifies you. 6 a day for a month. You go through 2 bottles. And then SP Cleanse, and these are all by standard process. 150 count bottle. You do 2 bottles. You do 10 a day, and it's literally 21 different whole foods and herbs that go in and detoxify all parts of your body. It's like a full body detox. You do all of this with a heavy emphasis on liver cleansing, so because you got Livoplex and choline. You're going to be much better off after 1 month than you were ever before that. And if you think about it, this is like when you go and you take your car in and you do a oil change at 3,000 miles or 5,000 or whatever intervals you're doing it at. You would never think about driving your car 50,000 miles or 100,000 miles without doing an oil change. Your car would, well, we do it to our bodies though. Our bodies just have an amazing ability to adapt. Most people have never even done any cleansing. And it's no wonder people are suffering from all these debilitating things. So I recommend, you doing this at least, if you've never done it, I do it like at least twice the first year. And then at least once a year after. I like this type of cleansing better than the standard gallbladder flush, because the standard gallbladder flush to me is more of a superficial. Yeah, you're getting rid of the gallstones, but you're not doing a deep cleansing of the liver. You're not really doing any other cleansing of any other systems of the body. This will also accomplish what a gallbladder flush will do, but it's much deeper. I had a patient the other day just told me that she had went on the choline. She had a very, very hot gallbladder, meaning it was about to the point of them saying, we got to remove it. I said, okay, you got that. You got to take choline, and you got to take cholesterol. Cholesterol is bile salts. Bile salts will calm a hot gallbladder down. Well, she started passing stones and sludge just from doing that alone, which I don't know if I've ever even seen that. Her gallbladder was so desperate. Well, it started breaking down the gallstones, and now she's starting to do a lot better. Now we're going to slowly start implementing in this particular case, because we're really concentrating on gallbladder, I'm going to use AF beta food, which is in Livoplex, which I just mentioned. And then we're going to do that for probably a couple months, because here's a lady that really, really, like, if she would have waited another 4 or 5 days, she needs to get her gallbladder removed. But it's been, from my experience and the practices I was in initially, especially going all the way back to 1983, it was almost like we were a gallbladder clinic. We had so many liver gallbladder cases, so many people scheduled for surgery, and they almost always, unless you had somebody that was literally past the point of no return, where it's infected, it's going to cause peritonitis, it's going to rupture. Obviously there's a point of no return for anything. And in that particular case, you waited too long. You went by the window of where you could reverse it. And there's a point of no return for anything. It happens with cancer. It happens with gallbladder cases. It happens with everything. So, anyway, that's the 1 month cleanse I got. And you can email me if you want to know more about it. Then I had another question from a listener this week, and it said, do you have any recommendations for improving male sperm count, motility, and morphology? Well, I would have to say that the protocol I listed earlier, Symplex M, Cataplex E, zinc liver chelate, and Tribulus, potentially, would be a really, really good one. Standard Process does make a dedicated testicular product called Orchic PMG, which is specifically listed for increasing sperm count. Okay, it is in the Symplex M, but it's only in there like in a quarter ratio to what it is in a full tablet here. So if you had a particular case where you were being my response was to this question though was see above and below where it shows you all the way men are being feminized, because you could do these supplements all day long, and if you're still doing all the stuff that's keeping you feminized, well, these products are going to have a very limited effect. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're doing all these things to feminize yourself and you expect the supplements to undo all of that, yes, it will help, but you need to take a lot of different steps to make sure you're not being counterproductive with your lifestyle, you know, because there's obviously tons of ways that you can be doing things and affecting you in a negative level. Anyway, the Orchic PMG is more of a dedicated product just for testicular function, any testicular problem, and for increasing sperm count. You'd probably want to add that in if you were specifically trying to do that. Now, these last sections, and I'm pretty much done with the teaching now, and I'm just going to go over these real briefly, is my newsletter on testosterone, Bulgarian Tribulus, Symplex M, and weight training. And it basically goes through there and it shows you the whole thing about Tribulus, weight training, how to take it, how to take Symplex M and Tribulus together. There's another link in here, low testosterone linked to increased mortality in men. So men with lower testosterone, they're going to die a lot quicker. Scientists studied nearly 2,000 men aged 20 to 79 who are living in northeast Germany. At the study start, 5% of these men had low testosterone levels, defined as the lower end of the normal range for young men. The men with low testosterone were older, more obese, had greater prevalence of diabetes and high blood pressure compared with the men who had higher testosterone. During an average follow-up time of 7 years, the researchers noted which subject died from any cause. The study authors reported that the men with low testosterone had 2.5 times greater risk of dying during the next 10 years compared to men with high testosterone. 2.5 times dying. And that was just testosterone. That's just one hormone marker. Wow. And this difference was not explained by age, smoking, alcohol intake, level of physical activity, or increased waist circumference. Man. Unbelievable. So there's that. And then I got into this before. I went over this report, 8 ways society is feminizing human males. And I'm just going to bullet point these. Pesticides, we already talked about that. Soy is a health product, we already talked about that. Hormones in the beef. Again, if you're not eating grass-fed, hormone-free beef, you're getting a lot of extra hormones in the beef. These are not good hormones, okay? There's a whole thing on that. Beer, because hops is best known for its use in beer. The majority of physicians and men overlook its potent chemicals and do not realize that beer itself can significantly alter male androgen levels. German beer makers noticed long ago that young women who just picked up hops to pick it in the fields commonly experienced early menstrual periods. Just having it touch their hands. They were going into menses early because it was so powerfully estrogenic. The researchers discovered the reason hops is perhaps one of the most powerfully estrogenic plants on earth. Just 100 grams of hops contains anywhere from 30,000 to 300,000 international units of estrogen, depending on the type of hops. Yet you give it to men because they have a manly drink, and it's totally feminizing men. Isn't that insane? And then it goes into how television feminizes men, and then unsaturated fats, especially things like soy oil and stuff like that. BPA in the plastics, we already covered that. Phthalates in the scents, like all these stuff, like they like, you know, these smell good sprays. Use something like an essential oil. If you want to use something like that, use like an orange spray. You know, you can get 100% citrus sprays and things like that on the thing. They're essential oils. They're a much better way to do that. Okay. And then the last, I think this is the last report, 7 ways to naturally boost dihydrotestosterone levels for maximum testosterone health. It talks about belly fat in that relation. It talks about how creatine can actually help in that. Things to avoid. Boron is actually good to produce more testosterone as well. I wasn't fully aware of that. Good fats are very good for you, but then it goes over the good fats to use. And then exercise is also a really big factor. Okay, so we got through all 34 pages of this report, and it looks like we did it in 4 parts. It's probably going to end up being about 5-hour study. I think I've got about 5 hours into this. So that's all we have for today. Hopefully, I know I threw a lot at you. I'll be I won't be here next weekend, and hopefully this has been a blessing to you. And hopefully we'll be back about, I guess, the first week of August. So I hope to do a study. It looks like the way it's looking right now, probably on the 7th of August. So God bless you, and I'll just lead us out in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day, this time you've given us. I thank you for letting us come together, Lord. I thank you for giving me the energy, Lord, to just get through this study and to get through all these points. I do pray, God, that whatever we need to take to heart regarding this information, that you just burn it into our thinking patterns, God, that you use us to help other people, Lord, that you would fight against, Lord, and destroy and expose this wickedness that we have talked about today, this unbelievable plan, Lord, to defile your creation, to defile humanity, to defile the animals and the plants and everything that you've created that is good, Lord, this satanic plan to just take out humanity. And I just pray that you would raise up an army of people, of your remnant, of the Christians, Lord, that would go forth and would help other people, Lord, that would pray for other people, that you would use these points to even lead people to the Lord, God, and that your name be glorified through them. I do pray, God, that you forgive us for any and all sins that we have committed in any way, shape, or form, as we forgive those who have sinned against us, and that the words of our mouth and the meditations of our heart will be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer, that you cleanse us from presumptuous sins and secret faults, that they would not have dominion over us. And we ask all this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.